No.
Alrighty. Yeah, this is to stop.
Back to participants.
Let's give her one moment to see if we can get this thing going.
The normal number of attendees.
We're missing our student board member.
Okay.
I thought I had the agenda up. Oh, there it is. So, yep, we're only missing our student board member.
Okay.
Tushar
So
Dalam.
you could probably start your special meeting just to get into the virtual meeting. Didn't want to bring up that.
Superintendent Kamek, is it
Yes,
okay
go ahead.
if we start the special determination meeting?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. I need to have a vote from the members that are present. We just have somebody join.
Yeah, Trustee Zhang joined by phone.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. We're going to start with the special determination meeting. In order for us to hold the meeting, I need to have the committee vote on the following: that the committee has reconsidered the circumstances of the emergency and agrees that the emergency continues to directly impact the ability of the members to meet safely in person. So next meetings will be virtual. And I need to have, if you could please type in the notes in the chat box if you agree as a yes vote, no vote, or abstain for us to continue the meetings remotely and not in person.
The Trustee Zhang is on the phone, so she won't be able to type maybe.
Yes,
Okay. All right.
I would vote
for her.
I would vote yes.
And Associate Superintendent Pfeiffer, if I may, just for those who are watching either live or via a recording, the vote that we're conducting right now is something that is from an assembly bill which was passed a few months ago for all of the committees across the state or board meetings, where it is required that that selective group take a vote every 30 days to make a determination. For those who watch our meetings regularly, they'll know that we've been meeting online, and this is a reaffirmation of that. However, our board meetings, our regularly scheduled board meetings, are still taking place in person.
Thank you for the clarification, AJ. Superintendent.
No problem.
Okay, and I have Superintendent Kamek agreed. Mr. Prasad has agreed. Ms. Zhang has also agreed. And that's the majority. And so that have agreed to move forward with this meeting. Mr. Pasquale, I don't see your vote. Could you please vote as far as agreeing to continue with the meetings and
do I vote
remote?
Because I'm okay.
Everybody that's present, please,
Mhm.
and on this committee.
So how do I vote, ma'am?
So if you go to the chat,
okay,
and then just say agree. There you go. Mr. Superintendent Kamick, would you like to now continue with a regular meeting? I was just conducting the special meeting.
Thank you very much, Associate Superintendent Pfeiffer. So this is our regularly scheduled board budget subcommittee meeting, and this is something that we do before every regularly scheduled meeting. We have this meeting run by two of our trustees. In this case, we have Vice President of the Board, Trustee Prasad, and Member of the Board, Trustee Zhang. And we will turn the meeting over to them to review our agenda and the agenda items with fiscal implications as it relates to the budget and Fremont Unified School District.
Okay, thanks, Superintendent Kamick. The Trustee Zhang, I will read through this. It's here only on audio, and we can discuss.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then the first agenda topic that has fiscal impact is 11.1. This is to approve contract with an independent agency for educational assessments. This seems to be routine. Anything special to mention here?
Sorry about that, Trustee Prasad, I was on mute. No, there would not be something that is significant here. This is part of our work to address our disproportionality as well. And so it does have a targeted focus and is part of an already approved plan.
Sounds good. And then the next one, 11.2, is also part of the same thing. So, and this one is to enter into an agreement with Rethink, and the funding for this is coming from CSAIS funds. And this is also for special ed and trying to remove the disproportionality. So this is a new expense, right, this year?
Yes, and I want to apologize. We may have at the moment some copies of our agenda that are not in sync, Trustee Prasad, being updated. So I'm just going to go back very quickly for our community that may be watching. On the current agenda, 11.1 is the agreement with Rethink, which is the item that I believe Trustee Prasad was just reviewing, which is our comprehensive coordinated early intervening services funds, and that is to address the disproportionality. The preceding item, 11.2, is the approval of Orton Gillingham structured literacy training for district special ed staff. And so Orton Gillingham is a very well-known structured literacy program, and this training will help our special education teachers provide this service for our students and this instructional strategy for our students.
Okay.
Superintendent Kamick, we just have a couple of administrative things that we need to take care of. One is roll call, and roll call is really just to for the members to in the chat just write that they're present, and then the next item is the approval of the agenda, and then the third item is for us to ask for any public comment. So I have, okay, Superintendent Kamick has entered that he's present, Mr. Pasquale, Mr. Prasad, and I will do the same.
I'm here. Judging Zhang.
And I'm here, Vivek Prasad.
Okay.
And I will move to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay. Do we have a second? Any discussion?
Do we have any comments from the public?
After we approve the agenda, we'll call for public comments.
Okay.
Okay. The agenda has been approved. I need to see Mr. Prasad. Mr. Prasad, have you, at first we need to get your,
Oh, okay, yeah.
the sign in that you're here present.
Then now you're-
And then I can call now for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, and now we're going to ask if there's any public comments. I don't have anybody other than the individuals listed here that have logged in to make public comments, and Mr. Pasquale has most likely is checking to see if there were any comments that came his way. They usually come to him directly. And so when he comes back, we'll double check with him if there's any public comments. Other than that, I believe we can move forward with a review of the agenda for January 12th.
Okay. Sounds good. So I put away my paper copy and I'm in the 21st century online. Okay. Okay, so then 11.3 is student, this is about additional funding for NPS, NPA, $171,000. Again, seems to be routine. We, at the end of this, we will still have a $2.5 million balance. So any questions, Trustee Zhang?
I don't have question for 11.3, but I do have question, since we are moving fast, on 11.1. And that is a new program ever since we, our school district is being identified, with this students' issues. So my question is, how long is the program? This is an annual program, right? The dollar amount of $65,000 is for 1 year.
This is an implementation period over 27 months.
Oh, 27 months. Okay, great. And this one is that they are going to help us implement this program. I mean, this rethink.
Yes, so they will be assisting us, and also part of that work will be identifying the root cause. And we also will be looking at how we can utilize these services to address the issues of disproportionality, as is listed in the background for Fremont Unified. And this can be different for different districts. Where we are disproportionate is the number of white students that we're identifying as other health impaired, the number of white students identified with emotional disturbance, our Hispanic students identified with specific learning disabilities, and Hispanic students identified overall. And for those watching, those identifications that are being referred to are identifications for special education. There are generally 13 categories within the state regulations and federal regulations by which somebody can qualify for special education services.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no problem. I don't have questions on 11.3.
Okay, then let's move on to the next item that has fiscal impact. Would be
that would be 13.4. The memorandum of understanding from our district and the FATA on substitute teacher.
correct.
That is correct. So this would be an increase in the wages for our substitute teachers that will bring us in line, if not near the top of the line, for substitute teacher rates across Alameda County.
So I think that's an excellent incentive for us to get qualified substitute teacher. And I'm just curious, and what is the increase, the percentage increase compared with last year's rate?
I don't have all of the percentages here. I would have to send those to the trustees separately. We are working to shift from an hourly rate to a daily rate, and we're also looking at adjusting some of the other incentives in terms of how often the rates change. So previously we had rates that adjusted based on the number of hours worked. And so I would have to pull the percentages and provide those at a later time.
So this is not only increasing the rates, it's also simplifying the whole structure, right? So that's why it's the answer to Trustee Zhang to your question is not as straightforward. We'll get the update from Superintendent Kamek separately.
Okay.
Okay.
One question that Superintendent, you mentioned that so in the past we pay the substitute teacher by the hours, and now we plan to pay them by the daily rate, regardless how many hours.
So the hours worked are still generally a set number of hours for the entire day. That remains pretty much universal. The hourly implications were, as Trustee Prasad was alluding to, more as part of a construct for after a certain number of hours worked, they qualified for a different wage. And so we're simplifying that process and we've increased the wages.
Okay, got it.
And now that Mr. Pasquale is back, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to double check that. Did we have anybody call in for public comments, Mr. Pasquale?
None, ma'am.
None. Okay, thank you.
Okay, then moving on to the next item. That's 16.4. This is a measure E contingency amount. So this is coming back to the board for an action, right? Last time we did. Okay, so 16.4 and 5, are they combined? Maybe Superintendent Kamek, you can explain the 16.4 one more time for our audience.
Yes, so at the last board meeting, we brought forward an agenda item regarding the interest earned on our bond program. And the board made a decision, or gave direction, would probably be the more accurate statement, for staff to bring this item back. And in that item to reflect that those interest funds would be going back into the Measure E bond program, into Fund 21, to address our contingency fund. And so that's what 16.4 is. And that's why it's on the consent calendar. I'm sorry, that's why it's coming back this meeting, not as part of the consent calendar.
Okay. And then 16.5, this is the disposition of the dollars that we got from Prop 51 reimbursements. And so we are proposing to put those between Funds 25 and Fund 40, half and half. Total amount of 207.
Correct. And for additional context, this is related to a prior board action where we authorized an expenditure as part of our construction project for the Ricks Early Learning Center. And at the time, trustees asked that if we could reallocate dollars from an alternative fund to address those costs, that we do so. So we're bringing back this agenda item to help complete that goal.
Sounds good. And the next one, 16.6, this is about Lila Bringhurst opening. Now, we've talked about the staffing needed in separate, in prior meetings. But the fiscal impact of opening this is not listed as part of this agenda item. So is there, do you have some numbers?
Well, Associate Superintendent Pfeiffer likely has numbers that she can share. I would highlight that it's not listed as a fiscal impact because it's already constructed into our budget for this year. Let me rephrase that to be a little bit more accurate. it's constructed into our budget for the out years. And so in that sense, we would not see a significant fiscal impact because we've already budgeted to open the school next year. If there was an alternative decision made, then there would be a fiscal impact and what we might consider a one-time savings for an additional year.
Right.
In that cost associated, we're generally looking obviously at increased electrical costs. We can probably use a pretty good estimate now that we've had the Hopkins students there warming up the campus for the elementary school students in the future. And then we also have staff. For example, we have a principal hired for the school, but I want to be clear for our community that that principal is already working in another school. So it's not just a principal that's hired and not working at the site. This is a principal who's on staff. And when we open the school, we'll be making that transition over to Lila Bringhurst if the board makes the decision to open the school for the 22-23 school year.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So that my question here is, with the current status, as of today, the district staff has identified approximately 233 students. And so is this data come from the demographer? I did not have time to double check.
That is
because
correct.
At the time when that's correct? It's from
Yes.
Okay. Because at that time when we are doing this budget and we put this allocation for next year's opening, and so it is clearly we meet the threshold of 160 students, and we have the budget, right? So it's more certain we would, have this school opened by next year. Okay, I did not know that we have this many students in this area.
Yes, and I would highlight that the students that are there now in that area are attending other elementary schools because obviously we haven't yet opened up the Bringhurst Elementary campus.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't have questions on this one.
Okay. Then the last item, 16.7. This is about the Washington High School theater improvement and this additional $419,000. So clarification, is this already money that has been spent or is this for future work?
Associate Superintendent Pfeiffer, could you provide some additional context on that?
Yes, this is the final closeout of that project.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the final items that completed the project.
Okay. Yes, I mean, since it is all backward looking, I just want to, for the record, keep my objection to these things. I mean, there are things here which says district standard spec. Seems like either the spec changed or the original plan did not have it. So there are several things here that seem like should have been part of the original contract itself. But since we are looking backwards again, this is already executed contracts and done. So we just move forward. Trustee Zhang, you have any questions, comments on this one?
Yes, I have the same question. So going forward, if we have already approved the budget and then any expense is under the umbrella of the approved budget, and would you, the staff, have clarified that this is under the approved budget and we are just reporting the expense? Or if there is a proposal like this?
So Trustee Zhang, sorry to interrupt, but this is not approved, right? This was approved by staff for the work to be completed, and the board needs to approve the additional funding for this project before payments can be made.
Okay, so is it because you have a lack of, because of time constraint, right? You cannot bring it to the board for approval, and so we want to, go ahead with the progress. Is this the case with this
So
one?
if I may, the project, the budget for construction, the total budget that was approved was $3,228,620. The commitments that had taken place already were $2.9 million. This request is $159,000. So the construction total budget remaining as of January 12th will be $124,675, according to the cost to completion summary that's attached to the sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's within the budget that was approved by the board.
Okay. But these are change orders that happened with different costs that is coming
Correct.
to. Okay, so essentially, at the end of this, we'll have most of the project contingency still remaining, and we would have completed the project pretty much on budget.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
I have another question. So, okay, first one, what is this the item I, allocation total? What does that mean? Okay, we have a B, the planning total, C, construction total, then H and I. I is allocation total. What is this category?
So that is in reference to the cost of completion summary. Associate Superintendent Pfeiffer may be able to provide some additional context there. If not, she can gather that information from our facilities team and provide that to trustees in advance of the meeting.
Let me get back to you on this particular item. I don't want to assume that this is a contingency, because the contingency is above that, and of the allocation total, there's $136,000 that have been committed. So I will need to get back to you on that.
Okay. Another question I have is on December the 8th, when we talk about this with this project, and our total budget is reported as 4.4 million, and right now is 4.7 million. So there's an increase of 300 something, which is included under this $419,000. I would assume.
So on October 27th, the board authorized the allocation of, let me see, of $325,000 to this particular, it was a transfer that was made to American High School Modernization budget to complete the project. So with that transfer, we are able to finalize this project.
Okay, so 325 and 419 minus 325. Well, then, all right. So that means that we authorized 325,000, and we're still short for something, right? That's why the spending today is 419,000.
So the final request for payment from this vendor is $159,000, according to this document, the cost to complete this project.
Okay, so I got it. So 159, and then I think we already approved the 325, and then that would add up to be like 484. So the number, okay, maybe I can send you the email. I'm
Sure.
just thinking how versus 484 versus 419, and there is still a gap.
So you're looking at the total budget was 4.725, and you're asking how we got there?
Yes, first is 4.4 from updated from last
Yeah.
last meeting, and
then
now we
added-
become.
And then we added the 325 for 4,725,000.
Yeah, that's correct, because now that becomes that now it's perfect, makes sense. It's become 4.725, right?
Correct. Yes.
So then we are good. So why
Yes.
we still need to ask for 159,000?
We are just informing the board of these expenditures.
Okay, all right.
Remember that the board wanted to see where the money was going, and if any change orders took place, you wanted to see them. So staff from the facilities department is bringing now all the list of change orders that complete all of the projects. So you're going to be seeing these where the funding is accurate, the money's there, the budgets, the projects being completed. For the purpose of transparency, we're bringing everything that's happened at each of the school sites projects.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
As I'm looking at the cost to complete summary, there the furniture and equipment total seems like that money has not been spent. So are we not going to spend that, or
It's a ratification to this contract. The contract itself for the general contractor, the amount that we are looking at is within the contingency.
Okay. So we are not closing out the entire project. We are closing out the contractor, the general contractor part of it.
Correct.
Okay.
My understanding is the project is complete.
So the furniture and equipment and all, so do we have it, or we don't need that anymore?
I didn't hear your question, sir.
The category G in the cost to complete summary, the furniture and equipment.
It doesn't seem that we've used it, or the construction costs. Furniture and equipment, we most likely will be using that.
Okay, so that was the question, that this will get used over time still, right? So we are not saying that this money goes back into our available pool of money.
Not yet.
Okay. And likewise, all the to finish the column there in each category, those could also get spent between now and the close of the entire project.
Yes.
Okay.
So when do we decide? When do we expect to sign off this project?
There's still a few things that need to be done, I believe, that are outside of the contracted with the general contractor. I'm not sure what furniture and equipment will still need to be provided. Are you looking at a date to have a ribbon cutting, or?
Just not ribbon cutting. Just general. It's like, are we expecting February, March? The time.
I'm expecting by the end of this month.
Oh, wonderful.
I think I got a little confused, Associate Superintendent Pfeiffer, on this. When you said that we are closing out this, we are only closing out the general contractor part of it. The rest of it continues, and it'll finish by the end of the month. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I suppose that was the last item in this agenda.
That's right.
Okay. Well, then we can go ahead and adjourn and give back 25 minutes to. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Everybody.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.